Number one reason people come to our workshops, they say I'm stuck. I've been stuck for a long time. I don't like my job, but I don't know how to fix it. And the number one thing they say after our workshops is, I'm not stuck anymore. I have lots of strategies for going forward. And it's scary, it's just fear. You know, I have a terrible job, but I don't know if the next job will be better. I don't want to risk my financial security, so I'm afraid to try something new. So our method, you know, it's called designing your life, but it's not about like, okay, quit your job and become a poet. That won't work.
ก็คือเหมือนกับว่าเราต้องลองดูกันว่าข้อจำกัดเราคืออะไรแล้วยอมรับมันก่อนทีนี้พอยอมรับมันก่อนเนี่ยต่อไปเราก็ถามคำถามต่อไปว่า what's next แล้วว่าเราสามารถทำอะไรได้บ้างจากข้อจำกัดเหล่านี้
วันนี้เป็นเทปพิเศษนะครับของ Leader Classbook นะครับผมที่เราจะมาเจอกับนักเขียนนะครับชื่อดังของโลกเลยนะครับผมคือเป็นหนังสือที่ผมชอบมากๆนะครับ Designing Your Life นะครับผมแล้วก็ผมอยู่กับคุณ Bill Burnett นะครับผมแล้วก็ดร.ปังนะครับที่นำคอร์สเนี่ยเข้ามาที่เมืองไทยด้วยเนาะ I will let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure. My name is Bill Burnett. I'm the executive director of the Life Design Lab at Stanford, where we teach all the classes on designing your life. And I'm the co-author of the two books with my good friend Dave Evans. I co-authored Designing Your Life, How to Build a Well-Lived Joyful Life, and Designing Your New Work Life. I write books, I teach at Stanford, and in Thailand and in Singapore and China, this trip, teaching Designing Your Life classes.
ดร.ปังครับขอแนะนำตัวนิดนึงครับ
ได้ครับครับผมชื่อปังนะครับดร.เพิ่มสิทธิ์นำประสิทธิผลนะครับผมเป็นนักจิตวิทยาครับแล้วก็เป็นตัวแทนของหลักสูตร Designing Your Life ในเมืองไทยครับผม
Could you tell me a little bit about how did you start the Designing Your Life journey?
So I've been teaching part-time at Stanford for a very long time, since 1986. But in 2006, when David Kelly, who's our senior professor, was starting the D School, he called me and he said, could you come in full-time and help me run the program? And so 2006, I came to Stanford full-time. In 2007, just a year later, I was meeting with my good friend Dave Evans, and he'd been over at Berkeley working with students. And he said, are your students struggling to launch? Are they struggling to figure out their careers and what kind of meaningful life? He said, oh yeah, I've been having the office hours for 20 years when the students are struggling. He said, well, let's put together some kind of a class. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we prototyped something that summer, and then that first year, it was just a very small class, 15 students, and then that turned into a class for all the freshmen and all the seniors. So now we teach, every quarter, we teach a class called Designing Your Life for the juniors and seniors to help them launch. Designing Your Stanford to help students design a great college experience. It's very interesting because, different ages and different concerns come up. But the basic question of, will my life be interesting? Will I have some kind of meaning and purpose? Not just in my job, but in my greater life. Will I find a good relationship, good communities? And when I'm last week in China teaching, same questions. Same questions in Thailand, same questions all over the world. People want to have a good, meaningful life, but they don't know how to do it. I'll say it this way. Design is always about making the next design better, right? So we optimistically want to make the design better. But to do that, we have to know, where are we right now? And I say design lives in reality. So first I have to understand, where is my life right now? How satisfied am I? Really, not to tell myself a story or to look good on social media, but where am I really feeling? And how do I really understand my current position? So the You Are Here button, I have it right here, is for making sure the students remember that good design starts right where you are. So we're very practical in the class. We're very practical in the books.
Does that mean your past is not relevant, or no? It's not. That it doesn't mean that.
Well, your past is how you got here. Some of it you might want to carry forward. If your parents taught you honesty, they taught you to work hard, so bring that forward. But some of what you have coming with you is what we call a dysfunctional belief. Students always tell me, I majored in the wrong thing and I'll never get a job. It doesn't matter what you major in college. 10 years out of college, only 20% of the people are doing anything that had to do with what they majored in college. You majored in computer science.
Yes.
Are you doing computer science?
No, actually.
Yeah. But you're average. I mean, most people aren't, right? So the other one is, oh, I'm too old. I'm 30 years old. I'm too old to design my life. No, you're never too old. Just start where you are and move forward with a new design.
เดี๋ยวขอไปที่ดร.ปังบ้างนะครับ
ครับผม
ถ้าสมมุติว่าลองมาพลิกในมุมของคนไทยอะไรเงี้ยครับในมุมของคนไทยมันมีความแตกต่างทางวัฒนธรรมนิดนึงว่าอย่างคนไทยเองอะครับคือเราถูกปลูกฝังมาให้แบบเรียนแบบนี้พอเรียนจบก็ไปทำอาชีพนี้ก็คือเรามีแพทเทิร์นของตัวเองพอมาเจอแบบวัฒนธรรมแบบนี้ครับมันมีความท้าทายยังไงบ้าง
ต้องบอกว่ามันก็มีสิ่งที่เหมือนกับสิ่งที่แตกต่างแล้วครับนะครับสิ่งที่เหมือนผมคิดว่าอย่างเมื่อกี้ที่คุณบิวพูดไปนิดนึงก็คือผมว่าคนทั่วโลกอ่ะมันอยากทำให้ดีขึ้นแหละอันนี้ผมคิดว่าไปถามใครก็น่าจะได้คำตอบนี้เราก็ไม่ว่าจะอายุเท่าไหร่วัฒนธรรมไหนด้วยนะครับทีนี้ความแตกต่างกันเนี่ยก็มีอยู่บ้างครับสำหรับผมเนี่ยผมเป็นไลฟ์ดีไซเนอร์ด้วยแล้วผมก็เป็นนักจิตวิทยาด้วยเพราะฉะนั้นนะครับก็อาจจะมีสัก2มุมมองครับอาจจะถามกลับว่าข้อแรกคือมันจริงหรือเปล่าหลายๆครั้งเนี่ยคือเราได้รับการปลูกฝังมาแบบนี้นะครับแต่ว่าเราไม่เคยกลับไปตั้งคำถามกับมันว่ามันจริงหรือเปล่านะตัวเลือกมีแค่นี้จริงๆหรือเปล่าหรือว่าเรียนจบอันนี้ต้องมาทำอันนี้อย่างเดียวเท่านั้นอันนี้คือคำถามแรกนะครับคำถามที่2เนี่ยก็คือเรียกว่ายอมรับข้อจำกัดเพราะว่าก็ต้องยอมรับว่าบางคนมันมีข้อจำกัดจริงๆอย่างเช่นตัวอย่างที่ผมเจอบ่อยนะครับคือเมืองไทยเนี่ยจริงๆแล้วผู้ประกอบการส่วนใหญ่จะเป็น SME เป็นลูกชายคนโตหรือว่าเป็นลูกคนโตนะต้องกลับไปช่วยที่บ้านทำงานอะไรเงี้ยนะครับซึ่งของพวกนี้คือมันจริงครับแล้วคุณก็ทำอะไรกับมันไม่ได้
อันนี้เขาเรียกว่า gravity problem
ใช่อันนี้เป็น gravity problem ซึ่งถ้าเกิดว่าเป็น gravity problem เนี่ยผมก็คิดว่าเหมือนที่คุณวิวพูดนะครับก็คือ you are here นะก็คือเหมือนกับว่าเราต้องลองดูก่อนว่าข้อจำกัดเราคืออะไรแล้วยอมรับมันก่อนทีนี้พอยอมรับมันก่อนเนี่ยต่อไปเราก็ถามคำถามต่อไปว่า what's next แล้วว่าเราสามารถทำอะไรได้บ้างจากข้อจำกัดเหล่านี้
Back to you, Bill. According to the data and information in your book, 2/3 of people are not happy about their work, and only 27 actually work in the field that they actually graduate from. Why do you think that happened? People choose wrong?
No, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's just that's the data. It's true. The two parts. So let's say the reason most people are working in something different than what they majored in is remember, you picked your major when you were 18 or 19 years old. Do you really want your 19-year-old person to tell your 30-year-old person what to do for a living?
No.
No, because you don't know enough. So picking a major is important. It organizes how you study. It organizes the subjects you care about. I studied engineering and also design, so I ended up doing exactly what I studied. But I was very lucky because I had a passion for design. Right?
Okay.
So I think it's normal. But the other one is that, I'm astonished. Year after year, Gallup does a survey about employee disengagement. And for 20 years, only, maybe 20, 30% of people like their job. And 70% or 68, 70% of people don't like their job.
They just go there and just
just do the best they can and whatever, and it's boring. And a fraction of that, a big fraction, is actively disengaged. Like they're actually doing a bad job on purpose. And that's just astonishing to me. I've always liked my jobs. I've always found jobs that I'm deeply curious about. I want to learn more. So that tells us that the way work is organized and the way people are managed is just broken. And so we wrote the second book, Designing Your Work Life, specifically to help people redesign their jobs so that they could find their own satisfaction. You can't wait for the company. The evidence is the company doesn't change. So you have to find a way to make your job better. And so we have a whole chapter called Don't Resign, Redesign, with 4 strategies for redesigning. We have a chapter on how to quit well so that you keep your networks intact and take your networks to your next job with you. But also it has to do with finding your true path. So a lot of people, particularly I find when I talk to young students who are working 25, 26, and they're unhappy, I say, why are you in a finance job? Why are you in a computer software job? And they say, well, my parents told me. It's very common in Asian culture for your parents to pick your, or help you pick your major. Like There's only two things you can do.
They have decided my life.
Yeah. They say you can only do computer science or finance. And so it was a bad fit. Now their parents, I believe the parents are good people. They just
Good intention.
and they have good intention. They love their child, and they're like, okay, we want you to be safe. We want you to make enough money. We want you to have a good life. And we know that if you're in finance, you can make a lot of money. If you're in software, you can make a lot of money. But you got to remember, the parents are picking things that worked, for them 30 years ago. They may not be, with AI coming and everything else, AI can write lots of software. We don't need as many software engineers.
Yes.
AI can do all the finance. So I find that a lot of people are in jobs that are a bad fit for them, in addition to maybe the management of the company is a bad style. So both of those statistics are true. And it's okay. I mean, if you studied something in college and you don't use that exact thing, that's okay. You still learn to think, you learn to solve problems, you learned a way of, like a really good way of thinking about things. Finance is a great way of thinking about data. Engineering is a great way to think about data. And you can use those tools in any job in the future. But to stay unhappy for the rest of your life in a job,
Probably not going to be a good idea.
it's not a good idea.
What do you think is the reason that actually holding people back, not trying to change their job? I mean, you say they're not happy, but they don't want to change. I mean, they're not willing to change. And why is that?
Number one reason people come to our workshops, they say, I'm stuck. I've been stuck for a long time. I don't like my job, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't like my situation, but I don't know how to fix it. And I just don't have any tools. I've tried, but I procrastinate or whatever. I tried things, but I don't know what to do. And the number one thing they say after our workshop is, I'm not stuck anymore. I have lots of strategies for going forward. So I think people just get stuck, and it's hard to get the energy to try something new. And it's scary. It's just fear. I have a terrible job, but I don't know if the next job would be better. I don't want to risk my financial security, so I'm afraid to try something new. So our method, it's called designing your life, but it's not about like, okay, quit your job and become a poet. That won't work. Our method is, and we talk about it in the second book a lot, set the bar low. We're going to make a series of small changes. We're going to give you some frameworks to try small changes.
Okay.
And as you do the changes and you try little prototypes and you build your way forward, right? You're going to discover this path isn't this isn't as good as I thought. This path is better. And then, you'll find your way to something that's better, but it takes time because we want to lower the fear.
ครับมาถึงดร.ปังบ้างนะครับตอนเป็นเด็กเนี่ยเรามักจะถูกถามเสมอนะโตขึ้นอยากเป็นอะไรเนาะพออ่าน Designing Your Life นะครับคำถามเหมือนกับบิวเหมือนกันนะครับว่าจบมาส่วนใหญ่ไม่ได้ทำตามในสิ่งที่ตัวเองต้องการนะครับพอจะมีวิธีที่พ่อแม่สามารถที่จะเอา Designing Your Life ไปปรับใช้กับลูกของตัวเองได้ไหม
จริงๆแล้วอันนี้เป็นโจทย์ที่ท้าทายเหมือนกัน
โจทย์ท้าทาย
เราก็เพิ่งคุยกับบิวมารอบนี้เหมือนกัน Designing Your Life ครับยิ่งในวัฒนธรรมไทยเนี่ยยิ่งก็ไปใหญ่เลยคือพ่อแม่เหมือนกับว่าแบบ
ใช่
ดูมากอะไรเงี้ยนะฮะอยากเป็นนักร้องเป็นได้เขาบิดบายให้ได้ก่อนอะไรเงี้ยนะฮะผมคิดว่าเรื่อง Designing Your Life เนี่ยแล้วแต่คนจริงๆครับแต่ก็ต้องพูดอย่างนี้ว่ามันแล้วแต่คนจริงๆนะครับแต่ว่าสิ่งที่ทำได้เนี่ยบางทีอาจจะไม่ต้องแบบเป็นเรื่องของ Designing Your Life นะครับก็คืออาจจะเหมือนกับว่าให้เด็กเนี่ยได้รู้สิ่งที่เรียกว่า Designer Mindset นะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของการแบบสงสัยใครรู้นะครับกล้าที่จะลงมือทำกล้าที่จะถามคำถามถ้าเกิดสมมติว่าเราให้แบบน้องๆมีความคิดพวกนี้ก็ทำให้เขาเนี่ยเป็นจุดเริ่มต้นของดีไซเนอร์ที่ดีแล้วครับแล้วพอเขาไปแล้วเขาเห็นความสำคัญกับเอาเรื่องนี้ไปใช้กับชีวิตมันก็ต่อยอดไปได้ไกลครับในฐานะพ่อแม่นะอันนี้ผมอาจจะใช้นิดนึงก็ผมคิดว่าเป็นเรื่องที่สำคัญครับที่อาจจะต้องแบบแน่นอนแหละเรามีสิ่งที่เราจะไกด์ให้เขาอันนี้ไม่ได้ผิดอะไร
What is your definition of happy and fulfilling life?
I'll give you one piece of research because again, I teach at Stanford, so I can't make stuff up. Everything in our class is based on some research. The longest study of adult happiness, the longest longitudinal study is the Harvard study, the Grant study. Started in the 30s with some men at Harvard. They're almost all dead now. But Robert Waldinger, who's the guy who just had a very big TED Talk on this, said the findings for making people happy well into their 90s or beyond is not money, it's not status, it's not what your job was. It all comes down to relationships. How good are your relationships, your family relationships, your partner relationships, and relationships with your community? And what do you do for other people other than yourself? So compassion. The longest study of psychological study tested, and they tested everything. They tested IQ, they tested physical fitness, they tested, for every year for 87 years. And they concluded what every wisdom tradition in the planet has concluded, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, it's about love, it's about compassion. So a good life has lots of love in it and compassion for others.
ขอถามเดียวกันกับดร.ปังครับ
ครับ
Happy and fulfilled life what is your definition of it
ผมรู้สึกว่าจริงๆแล้วความสุขสำหรับนิยามของผมเองเนี่ยหนึ่งคือเรื่องความสัมพันธ์แน่นอนนะครับก็คือมีความสัมพันธ์ที่ดีกับคนรอบข้างซึ่งในที่นี้คือไม่ได้จำกัดเฉพาะครอบครัวนะคือคนเรามีหลายวงแบบครอบครัวเพื่อนทำงานอะไรอย่างเงี้ยครับอันนี้คือผมอยากจะมีความสัมพันธ์ที่ดีกับคนรอบข้างครับกับอันที่สองเนี่ยก็คือจะเป็นเรื่องของ impact meaning ของคำว่า impact ก็คือคล้ายๆ purpose นะสิ่งที่ผมอยากจะผลักดันคืออยากจะผลักดันให้คนแบบทำงานนอกเหนือจากจะมีประสิทธิภาพแล้วก็คือทำงานแล้วมีความสุขมากขึ้นก็เลยอยากจะเอาศาสตร์เรื่องของ positive psychology เรื่องของ designing your life เนี่ยเอามาแบ่งปันให้กับคนไทยได้รู้จักมากขึ้นครับผม
There's another question about the work. People would always ask about money and job, like good money, bad job, or good job, bad money. Which one should I choose?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and if you look at the brain science, whenever you have an A-B decision, like good money, bad job, good job, bad money. There's no good place in that space. It's like mediocre job, mediocre money. That's not a good solution, and it's actually a false binary. It's a false pair, and so whenever we see that, then designers do a reframe, because if you just add in one more thing, then it's much more productive conversation. So we say your life is a mix of three things: money, because in the market economy, money is what you measure; impact, because in the social economy, you measure impact. How many students are in my reading program? How many women are being rescued from sex slavery? Impact. And then in the creative world, in the world of creativity, and everybody has a little bit of wants to do a little something creative, we measure expression. How did you get to write your poem, write your play, paint your painting, whatever. So now we say it's a mix, like a mixing board for a song, and it's your life song. So I'm going to mix how much money, how much impact, and how much expression, how much creativity. And if you've ever mixed a song, you don't push everything up to 100%. Like 100% bass, 100% the song would sound horrible, right? You need just enough of each one to make a really good song. And so this is that you are here. Where are you right now in your mix? Most people, the money dial's high, the impact dial's low, the expression dial's low. And that's why you feel out of balance. So sometimes when I talk to my young students, they go, well, I don't like the job, it's boring. I go, well, what about just getting good at it because you want to get good at it? And mastering something because it's worth mastering. And stop complaining so much about whether you like it or not. And they go, well, aren't you supposed to like my job? I said, no, you're supposed to like your life. It's life design. Lots of parts of this that you can tune.
When we are designing something, some product, we usually think or assume there is one or correct answer that of the problem at the time.
Right.
Yeah. But life is it's more fluid, more changing, keep changing, and we don't know what's gonna happen. And how do we know if we are designing a correct answer?
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know if you're too young. Do you remember before the iPhone? The number one phone dominated the world, the BlackBerry. If you look back at the history, the blog said, oh, Apple's going to do a phone. It'll be like a combination of the Razor and the BlackBerry. And then Apple did something completely different. Blew open the market, and where's BlackBerry today? Gone. So you're right. Your future, it's kind of like a product. If you don't keep innovating your future, something else will take over and you'll be, left behind. Now, it's not exactly like a product, but it's an interesting analogy. even with your life, you start with some ideas and you put things together and you come up with a solution and you prototype it and you try it and it seems to be pretty good. And then, 6 months later, a year later, two things have happened. The world has changed a little, so new opportunities have emerged that weren't there before. But also, you changed, right?
Yeah. In designing your life, there's a process called testing phase, right? Testing and failing,
Right.
and try something new.
Right.
You try and you fail, you try and you fail. I mean, how can we have the encouragement to keep trying to find the best solution?
Well, I'll give you my idea, then you give an idea too. So, first of all, I don't think it's failing. I think your prototyping is about asking a good question. I wonder if this would be interesting. I wonder how this works, whatever. So the prototype, even if you don't get the answer you want, you learn something. So it's not actually failing. It's just learning. So again, our method would be saying, okay, one, let's reframe. It's not a failure, it's a learning. Two, let's take smaller steps, much smaller steps. And then we'll build up to success. What would you say?
For me, I totally agree with the concept of like try small steps. Yeah, I think like many times the reason that people afraid of failure because they foresee the risks, right? They foresee the risks of like, oh, what if I fail this? What if I fail that?
And there's a big risk. If you spend a lot of money on something and you don't know what you're doing, it's a big risk.
You just imagine the failure already. That is actually it hasn't happened yet.
ครับ
Right. And you're afraid of it happening. Yeah.
แต่ว่าการตัดสินใจบางครั้งเนี่ยมันก็เป็นอะไรที่เป็นเรื่องใหญ่ในชีวิตจริงๆนะมันเป็นการที่แบบเหมือนกับว่าต้องเลือกแล้วนะครับคือการโปรโตไทป์เนี่ยมันทำได้ในบริบทหนึ่งครับถ้าเกิดสมมติเรามีทรัพยากรพอครับแต่ว่าถึงตอนนึงเนี่ยก็คือเราก็ต้องตัดสินใจแล้วล่ะว่าจะทำหรือจะไม่ทำยังไงนะครับก็ผมคิดว่าวิธีการ cope with failure ครับคืออันนี้อาจจะเป็นทางจิตวิทยานิดนึงนะฮะก็คือเขา track แบบคนที่อายุเยอะอย่างเงี้ยแล้วถามว่าจริงๆแล้วสิ่งที่ทำให้เสียใจมากที่สุดคืออะไรผลออกมาเนี่ยคือมันไม่ใช่เรื่องความผิดพลาดนะสิ่งที่ทำให้คนเสียใจมากที่สุดในชีวิตเมื่อย้อนกลับไปมองเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่เป็นเรื่องความผิดพลาดแต่มันเป็นเรื่องการไม่ได้ทำมากกว่าความผิดพลาดหรืออะไรเงี้ยส่วนใหญ่ไม่ได้เป็นสิ่งที่ทำให้เรากลับมานึกย้อนเสียใจนานขนาดนั้น
ก็คือคนเราผิดพลาดกันได้แต่สุดท้ายเราจะเสียใจมากกว่าถ้าเราไม่ลองทำดู
ใช่
ใช่ไหมครับถ้าสมมติว่าเราอยากจะทำอะไรกับชีวิตเนี่ยสักอย่างหนึ่งเหมือนที่ดร.พังพูดนะครับแต่ว่าเรายังไม่รู้ว่าจะทำอะไรเราสามารถที่จะสร้างไอเดียแบบเร็วๆมีคำแนะนำไหมครับ
ก็อาจจะลองถามแบบคำถามครับกับตัวเองดูว่าแบบจริงๆแล้วตอนนี้เนี่ยอะไรทำให้เรามีความสุขนะอาจจะลองเช็คในชีวิตประจำวันดูก็ได้ครับในเรื่องการทำงานว่าเราตื่นเต้นกับอะไรนะครับอะไรที่ทำให้เราได้พลังงานบวกก็คือเหมือนกับโฟลว์ครับเวลาทำแล้วแบบมีสมาธิหรือว่าแบบกำลังแค่คิดว่ากำลังได้ทำสิ่งนี้เราก็รู้สึกตื่นเต้นที่ได้ทำแล้วผมคิดว่านั้นมันจุดเริ่มต้นที่ดีคำถามต่อไปก็คือทำยังไงให้มันสามารถขยายตรงนี้ได้บ้างหรือสามารถเอากิจกรรมพวกนี้เอาไปต่อยอดยังไงต่อได้บ้าง
This is some question from people I know and then I asked them what if you get a chance to talk to Bill Burnett what would you ask so these are some of them and then I'm going to pick one
all right I'm going to pick this one
all right
the last one
okay so this one is from a person named May. Right? She is 23
okay
she's unemployed and her problem is I studied to become a lawyer because my dad is one and now after I finished my degree I just couldn't do it anymore it's so boring and tiresome have I wasted 5 years of my life in college what should I do should I just be a lawyer and be done with it isn't it a part of growing up that I have to endure to do work that I don't like I'm afraid all my friends are working now and I can't catch up with them help
okay well I feel bad for May because she's in a tough situation but I run into students like this all the time so she's not alone many people are like this so I think for May we need to start a reframe right okay first of all work she thinks work equals I just should grow up and do something I don't like. So she thinks work equals pain, right? And that a grown-up response is that. And I'm going to say no. Work equals flow. when you're in flow and you're on the natural path, then it doesn't feel like work. It feels joyful. So we're not going to look for pain. We're going to look for flow.
Okay.
And then we have a very simple model from psychology about finding something that's, your path. And in the book, we say, this bubble is, who am I? This bubble is, what do I believe? And this bubble or this dot is, what do I do? Or what is my work? And the psychologists say that when these things are connected, when you can connect the dots, like Steve Jobs' speech at Apple, when you can connect the dots, then your life will have meaning. So what I want May to do, because she's looking for a more meaningful life, is to, first of all, reject pain, go for flow. And then second, I want her to, what do I believe? We call this your life view. What's the meaning of life? I want her to write a 250-word essay, very short, one paragraph. The meaning of life. Life is about, spirituality. Life is about love. Like whatever she thinks life is about. I don't care. It's her definition.
Okay.
Now, one thing is, she's been living someone else's life. Her father is a lawyer, so she's trying to be a lawyer to please her father. It's good to try to please your parents. That's good. But you can't live their life. You have to live your life. So what's your life view? And then this is, what's your work view? Give me, same thing, 250 words or so on work. So now I know what is work for, why do I work? And now I know what life is for, what is the big picture. When the two things are together, we call it your compass. North, south, east, west, right? This is your compass. If I know why I work and it's related to what I believe the meaning of life is, then I have a way to find my path. Right now she's lost because she was trying to find someone else's path, her father's path. It's not her path. It doesn't mean, by the way, an education in law school is fantastic. I know many people who've taken a law degree but never practiced law. Because learning to, I talk about design thinking, learning to think like a designer. Legal thinking, learning to think like a lawyer, very precise, very thing, based on precedent. You have to understand history, you have to understand the current situation. It's a wonderful form of critical thinking. So she's got great training that she can apply to things that aren't law. So it's not a waste at all. It's a waste in the sense that it's taking her a long time to find her path. And when she finds her path, she's still going to have to convince her parents, her father, that it's okay. But start with, who am I? What's my identity?
Okay.
What do I believe, my life view? What is my work view? When these two are together and they make sense together, she'll find her true path and meaning.
All right. Thank you.
That's my recommendation.